Hey guys, this is Jason here and welcome back to my channel, The Drone Garage. So in the previous video, we looked at what a drone is. But in this video, we'll be seeing what's inside a drone. What does a drone comprise of? We'll be looking into those details in this video right now.
So, a drone structure comprises a lot of parts. It has the basic frame, the power distribution board, the battery, the ESCs, the brushless motors, the propellers, the flight controller, the receiver, the GPS, the telemetry, the camera, the transmitter, of course I forgot, and the FPV goggles.
Each of these components which I just described about, they have a specific purpose in the drone which we'll be looking at next.
Let us look at the basic frame of quadcopters. There are a lot of frames out there, and it varies depending on what type of a quadcopter you're building. And usually, lightweight frames are used for FPV drones because they need speed and agility. The frames usually carry the various components of the drone. Now, let us look at the power distribution board. The power distribution board has slots in which the different motors are connected. And then this is supplied with power through the battery, and the power is sent both to the motors as well as the flight control for the flying of the drone. Next up, we'll be looking into the batteries. So there are a lot of types of batteries. There are single cell batteries, there are triple cell batteries, there are 4-cell batteries. Usually one cell of the battery is of 3.7 volts. So if we take an example, the DJI Mavic 2 Pro, it is a 4-celled quadcopter. So 4 cells means 4 into 3.7 volts, which gives us 14.8 volts. This is the total voltage supplied to the drone with the help of the battery. Basically, the number of cells are chosen depending on the thrust, range, payload, and etc. Next up, what are ESCs? ESCs are electronic speed controllers, so they control the speed at which the motors run and indirectly, control the flying of the drone. So as I've drawn in the diagram, these two pins are connected to the PDB, that is connected to the flight control, and this goes to the motor. Now let us look at brushless motors. So brushless motors are used in quadcopters because they are far more powerful and they last longer basically. And as shown in the diagram, the motors are connected to a ESC, which is also connected to the PDB and to the flight control, as already shown you in the diagram wherein I drew the power distribution board. 3 important things regarding the brushless motor are the turns, the kV, and the size. So the turns, basically it will be marked in the brushless motor. So it'll be written 13T, which means it has 13 turns inside. For example, in the diagram I just drew, it has a total of 12 turns. So that's one thing. Then we have the kV rating. So if it's given 1200 kV, it means it runs at 1200 RPM when 1 volt is applied. The brushless motors are chosen with regards to, again, payload, thrust, and a lot of factors. And one more key note that we need to see here is the size of the motor, which is denoted with a 4-digit number. Say, for example, 2212, which means the diameter is 22 millimeters and the height is 12 millimeters. And then let's now look at propellers. So the propellers usually have 2 sides, 2 edges, the leading edge and the trailing edge. And it should be noted that the leading edge always cuts the air. So basically, the propellers vary, the sizes vary depending on the clockwise motors and the counterclockwise motors. And usually they are made out of plastic or carbon fiber. Now let's look at the heart of the drone, the flight controller. There are a lot of different flight controllers out there, like the Autopilot, the Pixhawk, the Mamba. The one that I just marked as FPV is an integrated one because it contains the flight controller as well as the PDB together. So these usually vary depending on what inbuilt modules they come up with and what external modules that can be fit into the flight controller. And now we're going to look at the important combination of the transmitter and the receiver. So this comprises of the transmitter, which is held by the pilot at the ground station, and then there's the receiver, which is connected to the flight controller. So the transmitter transmits signals or directions in which the drone should move, or the channels that are meant to be used, and the receiver receives it and gives information to the flight controller. This passes it to the ESCs, and through the ESCs the motors are controlled, and depending on that the drone is maneuvered. So other than just maneuvering, there are different modes that can be activated and many directions that can be given to the drone from the radio transmitter. The transmitter also has these extra switches which can be enabled for using different modes. Let's now look at the GPS module. So the GPS module is usually connected to the flight controller, and it is stated that always a minimum of 7 satellites should be connected to the GPS module to always know the location of the drone. The GPS module is either inbuilt or externally fit in. And then coming to the cameras, there are many different cameras out there. There are small cameras like the Run Cam, and then there is GoPro. So these cameras are attached to get a view of where the drone is flying, basically. So sometimes it's used to capture videos, sometimes it's used just to get the first person view of the drone. So how it runs is basically this camera is connected to the flight controller, and then there is a specific video transmitter which transmits the video taken from the camera to the FPV goggles, through which the pilot can see what he's doing. Those who don't have FPV goggles, they usually have it connected to a laptop from which they see what's happening. Next up, let's look at what telemetry is. So it comprises of 2 components, one which is connected to the flight controller and one which is connected to a laptop or even to a phone. So telemetry is used to retrieve flight information of your drone on your computer or your radio control in order to follow several parameters of your aircraft on the ground. They usually are fitted externally on self-made drones. And with regards to FPV drones and DJIs, they come in inbuilt. Last but not the least, we have the FPV goggles. So it has a receiver transmitter combination, as I explained before when I was talking about the cameras. As I said, the camera takes in what it sees, and through the flight controller sends information to the video transmitter, which sends information to the receiver at the FPV goggle, and you get to see what's happening from the drone's perspective. So that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do subscribe and do share. Thank you. See you guys in the next video.